Okay, now we need to put all of this into here, and that requires glue. So we'll just start spreading glue and see what happens, more or less. Which is to put these two little guys on the top here. They just clamp on like that. Don't know sure what they do, but there they are. And that'll go in like that, which means we need glue around this thing there, and there. Okay. Okay. It just fits in like that. sure the LED LCD are pushed in well. As well as I can do it anyway. And leave that on its side like that to dry. So, everything is now dried. Not dried, I mean everything's glued. The glue's got to dry. And while the glue dries, I don't think I'll bother filming the glue drying. Alright, hindsight's a wonderful thing. This here cable has to go along here, over here, and up through there, and I should have passed it from there through here. I didn't, so what I'm going to do is just cut a slot in here, just big enough to put the cable through. Not too deep, but... And then we'll turn the hot glue gun on. Now the other thing that we're going to need to do is run power. And I guess it'll just go through the same slot there. And I have some new wire here. This is down to 18 gauge. So I'm just measuring it from the point where it picks up power. I'll just snake along there, come over there. Got to connect into this power wire, belt there, gets off a little bit extra, there we go. I have heat shrink and overall heat shrink, but I'll need to get my soldering iron for that. In the meantime, get rid of that glue blob. And we shoot some glue into the holes where the sensors are. Now, I'm not real happy how I've got this one here over that wire, but what happens when you don't think in advance. And I think all of these could go down there like that. So let's grab another piece of tape. Try using that. Hold all of that down. And then this should just have a little bit of hot glue right there. To hold that sensor wire in place. Now, in order to solder these wires together, we have this. So in this case, blue, we'll go to blue. And white and blue, interestingly enough, goes to white with a, because of the way it got stripped, a blue strip on it. And put the solder here. This is a cable stapler. So first off, we'll take this cable. Staple it in here like this. Now that didn't work great because I'm going through a knot. Okay, that's stuck good. Fortunately, all this gets cut out. Well, the good news is I got everything hooked up. I went to test it, and no displays. So I came back to the workbench and plugged into the USB, and I uploaded some code that looks for I2C devices, and it can't find any. So it can't find this device or this device. I double checked, connections are all okay now. The only thing I'm thinking of is this is wet glue down here, and I'm wondering if being wet glue it's doing something. So I'm going to let it dry overnight, and then once this is all dry and clear tomorrow, we'll check it again and see if it works. If not, woohoo, look at this. We're all working. Okay, well, there's no train going, you can't see anything there, but it's working. Give me a minute. Okay, here's the first try. actually having a train. That says 60 foot. Well, I'm going to get this guy out. It says 81 there. On the corner it says 86. Let's put this right after. See if it'll fit in there. Nope, won't fit in there. Well, I can get it there. Maybe that says 95. $67, $65. So we're now calibrated within a couple of scale mile an hour between the two. And that's just adjusting the sensor difference, saying it's a little bit different. And now we're at 67 back there, 65 there. So it's 65.2, it's within two scale mile an hour, which is 2%, 3%. So that's pretty good. So what does that all tell me? Well, I like the photoresistors better because they don't have that extra IR bouncy thing going on, whatever the hell that is. If you were in a dark space, you'd want the infrared. If it was, as I say, really dark, but it's got to be like all lights out. Even if it's dim, the photoresistors pick it up. So they're my favorite by far. Plus they're easier to install. There's one hole you drill in, 1/4 inch or 5/16, and you can put it up from the bottom, put some white glue, leave it there, it sets. I back it with a little bit of hot glue on the back. They're easy enough to wire up, so the photoresistor wins in my view. Anyway, the current displays I have now, I have 3. The first one shows the speed, and then it has an LCD that shows, the speed, direction, date, time. That works fine, except the date chip doesn't, when it's turned off, it doesn't know about daylight savings time, and I'll have to reboot the thing. And you see the speed twice, so that's not of much value. I might change that one to show previous and date time. The second one is the one that just shows speed on the far side outside track. The third one we just did over there shows the speed on the top and then the previous and the speed prior to that and the percentage difference. So I'm kind of liking that display. I got one more that I'll likely put in so that I have 2 in the front and 2 in the back on my other spot on the front. Part of the issue I mentioned is that I've tried to level this, but I've got a carpet that it's on, so it sinks and it's not perfectly level, and trains run different speeds backwards and forwards, but because it's not level, what it ends up doing is having a lower speed on the back where it goes uphill versus the front downhill. And if I'm trying to match a couple of trains, they're going to have to try and be the same speed. So I'm going to have sensor on the front, a speed sensor on the front on both tracks, so I can compare those two, and on the back on both tracks, so I can compare those two. Okay, here's another interesting thing I found out. I went to unplug everything. I unplugged it, turned off the power bar, but the speedos were still working. And like that. So you can see they're firing up. They're going through their calibration stuff. And I was looking at it, well, what the hell's powering them? Well, what's powering them, it turns out, is while I shut off my laptop by closing the lid here, I left the USB cable attached, thinking nothing of it. Well, the USB cable snakes over around from there around over to there. So it plugs in there. So it's plugged into this guy. Now, because the far guy gets his power and the other two get their power, like all of these underneath, their power are hooked to a common power bus over here. So in fact, this USB cable here is feeding power from my laptop to that guy over there, and then through the 8-wire cable, 2 of the wires go back to the power bus, which is located right under here. That distributes power back to here and here. So it's a good thing I caught that, otherwise I would have killed the laptop, I guess. Unplug, and everything's unplugged. I wanted to leave it that way because I still have a little bit of work to do on that guy. The problem with him is I don't have the blinking red light that I have on that one, so I need to do some debugging and figure that out. And as I say, I think I may want to change this display as well. But so long.